me the meat and give it to me raw.
Raw. It's raw.
You pick up your palette knife and then work that into your meat. Give your meat a good old rub. Yeah, boy.
Breaker 19, this is the Rubber Duck. Who's leading this here convoy? Over.
I read you, Rubber Duck. This is the Carnivore Trucker heading this bacon convoy. We're on the road to health through the carnivore diet. Why don't you follow us? Over.
10-4, Carnivore Trucker. Let's bring home the bacon. Over.
Wow, that was cool. I didn't expect that. That's pretty neat. Pretty neat.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was gonna put on the unicorn. Dang it.
Unicron. It's
Unicron.
based. Yeah, it's based off a. You must not be a Transformers fan. I know
the Transformer now. That makes sense.
Yeah, the old '80s Transformers cartoon. They had a movie, and one of the bands it was a band called Lion. They did a lot of the soundtrack, some really heavy metal, good tunes. But that movie was not your Hanna-Barbera stuff that they showed on the morning show. It was like Optimus Prime dies in it, and like they showed death, and they were battling this planet that consumes this robot that consumes entire planets. It was named Unicron. So, but we can go over the history of Unicron for anybody who's interested. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
We'll get into it in a little bit, but welcome to the Bacon Convoy. This is episode 3, and we have Snorlord. So, yeah. He was the first person to interview me when I started my channel. I accidentally lost my interview with him, so we're at it again, kind of. But this is just you're just chilling, hanging out, especially after my last stream where we had a pretty heavy topic about suicide and mental health. So I'm wanting to just chill and hang out with my buddy here.
Yeah, man, it's we could be lighthearted. So yeah. I noticed that my beard is now longer than yours, man. What's up with that?
I was feeling a change. For one, it was getting kind of unmanageable, and I have a picture. I'll send it to you later, but it was so like red and irritated underneath my beard. So it just kind of feels good to let my skin breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
gonna grow it back.
Oh, that's cool. No, it takes a lot. People ask me, how long did it take you to grow that beard? And it's like, I think 3 years is when it really started. The length started to keep the curling from happening. And it is a lot of work. I have trimmed the sides a little bit, so it has more of a V shape, but, or if not, it was going to be like the fluffy Santa Claus thing. And I didn't really want that, but the wife doesn't want me doing any kind of manscaping on it, but I trim the sides to make it more manageable, make it more neat when it's oiled down, and when I'm working on the lawn or something, or if I'm outside, I'll tie it up. I got like 4 hair ties that I'll put it up. It's, you're like, isn't that hot? I'm like, yeah, kind of. It's itchy a little bit, but I take care of it, and people are like, oh, do you take beard growth serum? Like, no, I just I don't know, it just does its thing, man. I mean, if you look at like all the old like photographs from like Civil War era America, man, it was, beards and mustaches were kind of like a status symbol.
Yeah, the standard, pretty
Yeah.
much.
There's been a couple of YouTubers that have called it scraggly and I look homeless and all that, and I just kind of laugh at them. It's funny. So
The homeless trucker.
the
But
homeless
no,
trucker,
yeah, but no, how it is out here. You don't always get a chance to shower every night,
Mhm.
and so it just kind of gets built up with itchiness and all the oil. But yeah, it's I have an old picture. I had shaved the sides, and then I had a big goatee, and I used to braid it and put like the Viking beard rings on there.
Mm-hmm.
That was like my peak sexiness, my attractiveness. Was that look that I had going on, because I had the undercut, I had hair that wasn't thin as shit on the top of my head.
Right. Well, my wife got me this Viking thing that you put on the end if you braid your beard, and you put it on the ends to kind of hold it in place. And the drummer of Obituary, if you ever watch, one of their shows, or you look at the picture of their drummer, he has a really long beard like mine, but he has this leather wrap that goes from like here all the way
okay.
down. I'm looking for those and I can't find them. Like I want to
I'd
go
imagine
to an Obituary concert just so I can ask the drummer, where do you get that? I'm sure I can get on
I'd
Twitter
imagine
like that.
Etsy might have it.
Yeah, it I don't know. I'm not familiar with Etsy. People have talked about Etsy in the past. My daughter uses it for her, my oldest daughter, she makes puppets and stuffed animals, and she uses Etsy to sell all that. I'm not familiar with that. It's like the last thing I want is a membership to another. Like, it's bad enough Amazon gets my money, but so
Well,
Etsy and
Etsy,
Temu would be a little bit too tempting, right?
yeah. Etsy isn't a subscriber base, but
Okay.
we have Sana, Miss Perfectly Imperfect Keto. She's the one I was with streaming just a while ago. So
Okay. Welcome.
you ever watch her
Mrs.
stuff?
Perfectly. Nah. YouTube's been kind of funny with me. I primarily have about an hour a night where I'm doing chores in the kitchen, where I'll listen to like Ryan Mickler, and beyond that, most of my YouTube stuff is kind of intermittent, depending on how busy things are. So as far as the keto health stuff, I barely have time to watch a Dr. Berg video or Thomas DeLore, which he tends to get lost in the weeds with a lot of his stuff. So I don't know. I've been in this weird YouTube thing. I made a video. I was angry about something. I made a video, actually filmed it from inside my truck, and I'm going to give you some YouTube advice there, Cardboard Trucker. If you're ever upset, go ahead and do that video, but don't make it public. And so I watched watched my video, and I was like, man, what an ass. So I did not make it public. Haven't deleted it yet, but I just, somebody was complaining about me doing the low board stuff and all that, and I was just like, I was angry about that, because like, you don't realize that of the things that I go through at home, and so people mistake me being off the road as a weakness, and I consider it a strength. So I'm a little bit touchy about that, but I've been watching a lot of these Stoic, Daily Stoic. I watch his stuff. I watch which he's cool. He's wearing an Iron Maiden shirt, and Ryan Mickler has had some really good tips. And I just got done reading Warrior Poet's book, which is fantastic. And so I've been trying to empower myself with that stuff. So a lot of YouTube stuff, it's hard to keep up because I've got so many people I'm subscribed to. And when it comes to the health stuff, it's like I know it's easy to get lost in the weeds, and it's just confirmation of things that I already know, and it just sometimes it irritates me because so I don't know because I want to do so much. I feel for so many people. I just got done talking to a driver that obviously isn't healthy, and and you see that every day. I talked to a gal today that just had the sleeve surgery. She was telling her husband, who's normal sized, um, about how much weight I lost, because I showed it to her one time. I'm like, oh, look how much weight I've lost, and you can do this, and she had the surgery done. And when I started going into my normal spiel about processed food and all that, it was like I was offending them, and and it's like, I don't judge, right? I struggle with that myself too sometimes, a lot of times. And so
It's funny how people can get all in a bunch because we're talking about changing a diet.
it's more than just changing. I know we were going to start off with music, but I guess we're here. But it's more than just, it's changing a lifestyle. It's changing everything that you've learned, everything that you were brought up with, and change and seeing it, how that way of thinking is destroying people. And it's just it's kind of tough, so
Yeah, there's people just don't want to change, and there's a lot of contrary information about keto and carnivore and all that, and people are afraid to do it, so there's like this big stigma around it, I think. But yeah, I agree that there's, well, I was saying earlier that truck driving is the most unhealthy profession in America, pretty much.
it is.
And that's what I'm here to try to do, so it's just it's hard.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you feel like a preacher walking into a strip bar. I mean, it's like people. That's a great. It's an analogy I came up with. Yeah,
I
because
like it.
yeah, it's an analogy I came up with. Like, the last truck show I went to with my truck, we were hanging out with a bunch of people, and someone ordered a bunch of pizza, and everybody's like, "Oh, Steve's here. Don't be eating pizza in front of him." Like, it just it's a tough gig, and I make my kids mad all the time, just little comments I make. So I'm trying to be more quiet about it, more stoic about it, and I'm not as dogmatic as I come across sometimes, because I'm not perfect, man. I've definitely strayed this week from the keto thing, and man, coincidentally, my mood sucks. I'm tired. I've had a pretty heavy weekend when it comes to personal life stuff, and I know that one is a result of another kind of a deal. It's like, I know that my mood is, and the way I'm handling the stress is related to making some bad food choices, And by bad food choice, I'm talking about Taco Bell. I'm not talking about, devouring a whole cake. I'm still very, 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 very anti-sugar. Sometimes it's the bread and the processed grains and stuff that I struggle with. So, and lo
Well,
and behold, my knees hurt, my back hurts, and everything else. So,
oh, well, but you talk about straying away. Friday, I had dark chocolate covered cashews. So, but it was an experiment to see if I could get away with eating it without any bad repercussions. I think it affected my mood slightly, but I think I'm all right. I'm probably gonna eat some more.
Yeah,
I do like cashews.
Between my allergies and what I dealt with Friday night, I only got like 2 hours of sleep, and then the positive thing that happened is we went to a metal show last night, so that was cool, and I'll show you the stuff that I got last night. I'm just exhausted, and I was my temper gets short when I'm like that, And
Mhm.
you know, they talk about genetics playing a part when it comes to, like, oh, everybody in your family is overweight, so it's in your genetics. Well, yes and no. And reminder, I'm not a doctor, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Genetics plays a role when it comes to how you handle insulin resistance. Genetics plays a role in how you react to certain foods, just like food allergies, right? Some people are born with peanut allergies. Um, and I think that certain foods react a certain way, especially in the brain, like, MSG, affects people differently. For some people, it's an addictive substance. For some people, it makes them angry. For some people, they're okay with it. So I think that's where the genetics plays, and that's where you see these families that tend to have everybody overweight. That's insulin resistance genetic disposition, and so my family, and from what I know of my natural mom and what my dad went through and what I go through and what I'm seeing, is that we struggle with processed carbs. We struggle with, which everybody does, but some
Yeah.
more than others, right? Some people, one person can eat a couple of donuts and boom, they got 5 pounds of water weight. Another person can eat a whole box of donuts and they're skinny as a board, right? So that's the insulin resistance, right? Some people are more resistant than others, and so because of I grew up on ramen noodles and Kool-Aid, as a kid, and because it was cheap. I mean, and cereal every morning instead of eggs and bacon, that kind of thing.
Same.
Poverty plays a big role in that as well.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper. You can make food go a long way if you can just add some potatoes and some bread to it and some flour and sugar, and now you got quote unquote sustenance. And so the body's never used to fasting, and then they tell you that eat 6 times a day, and you wonder why you're always hungry when you go without a meal. And it's all about insulin resistance, and that's the thing that a lot of this couple I was talking to today, they were like, their head was turning. It's like they because. And I think that where they got offended a little bit, was I told them I lost 120 pounds without surgery, without exercise, simply by changing what I eat.
Mhm.
Because I didn't
Yeah.
want to go under the knife. I had strangers, people that follow me on YouTube going, "Hey man, I'm concerned about you. You ought to get an operation." I'm like, that to me, that's like wiring your jaw shut. That's like physically forcing you to keep from eating, and that doesn't ring a bell with anybody. That maybe this addiction is a problem if you got to like cut half your stomach out so you don't
Yeah.
overeat. That doesn't make sense to me, and I didn't want it to make sense. So I did the next best. I did the best thing and just changed what I eat, and lo and behold, miracle happened. I got my life back.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it's kind of crazy how, because I have friends who've said the same thing. Like, I tell them, I've lost all this weight and I've hardly exercised, and he's like, that doesn't seem healthy. You lose all this weight without putting effort into exercise. Like, their first instinct is, that's not healthy. And it's a shame how people, that bariatric surgery, just cutting up their stomach. It's a shame. But everybody's all carbs in, carbs out, everything, or I'm sorry, calories, and that's all that they see. They don't think about the real nutrition of what they're eating. And but yeah, speaking, you were talking about going through poverty and eating like noodles and stuff like that. I grew up on that stuff too, and even in my adult life, when had like my first apartment, I would have like $40 a week for food, and I would just get like a big packet of chicken and breast, a couple of things of corn, and a big sack of potatoes, and I was good. And I would try to make whatever I could out of chicken, potatoes, and corn, or whatever. So it's you know, it's a learning experience, but I'm glad I'm where I'm at right now to where I can, you know, have the knowledge of proper nutrition and the means to actually, you know, afford to do it.
I think
So
that the other element to that is that nobody wants to constantly think about what they're eating. Like no one wants to get lost in the minutia of it, right? They don't want to, you know,
isn't
it,
isn't that what
it's
everybody else does though? Like everybody's thinking about like their next meal, like, oh, I want Taco Bell, you know, or I want McDonald's, or you know, whatever.
yeah, but I mean, to no
Nobody
one,
wants
you
to be
know,
like that.
yeah, no one wants. I mean, because like people lost weight just tracking their calories, right? You know, just tracking what they're eating,
Mhm.
and I think that it gets exhausting sometimes. Just you know, like every now and then, you just want to eat something and not even think about what it's going to do to you, you know. And I think that that exhaustion comes through with a lot of people. You know, and it's kind of what happened to me last night. I was like, you know what, we had a good time at the show, and I'm just, you know, and it was a habit, you know, after every show we used to just go to the restaurant and order steak and eggs and all that, but it was late, we were tired, and Taco Bell just sounded good, you know, and so and I saw someone says
That's
that it was disgusting, right? I mean, but it probably is. It is.
well,
It
that's
definitely is, you
I
know.
was gonna introduce you to him. That's Rick Charger Mopar. He's always like that. He doesn't. He's been carnivore for so long. He doesn't like understand, because he says it like, I don't understand how people eat this. So I just wanted to introduce to you. Like, he's not trying to be inflammatory.
No, no,
Like, I don't think he generally.
dude, I've got pretty thick skin, man. I'm pretty stoked about that kind of stuff. But like, you know, Mrs. Perfect, you know, just said addiction definitely results in a lot of obsession, and so you just, so I tell people just if it didn't come out of the ground or have a mom, don't eat it, you know, and people have different reactions to vegetables, but I think a lot of the negative vegetable reactions are based around the pesticides and the, you know, what we're meant to eat and what we're not meant to eat, you know. I mean, so I a lot of people just, it's kind of like the trucking thing, right? So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I go live about the trucking on the big channel, and we talk about spot market and the hundreds and thousands of different strategies of making it in the spot market as an owner operator. And you know, and there are people that are just like, you know what, I just want to drive the truck and not even think about this kind of stuff. I think food becomes kind of the same way. They just want to go to the store and buy something that looks good and eat it, you know, or they don't want to go to a convenience store and realize that they can't eat 98% of what's in that store. I think it
Yeah.
becomes exhausting. I think, and so you have these people that are like, well, I tried keto and it didn't work for me, or I tried carnivore, it didn't work for me, because you didn't address the initial problem, which is food addiction. And I'm a food addict, you know, and so last night was my uh was my way of relapsing a bit, you know, and dude, I'm feeling it, you know, and so, and I tell people progress, not perfection. And every time I think I'm going to go strict carnivore, man, it when I go strict carnivore, it's tough on the family, it's tough on my wallet, it's tough on
Mm,
um it's tough for everybody. It ruins, you know, a lot of social events, you know, or I'll have one of our drivers that will
mm,
come through town and like, hey, let's go get something to eat. I'm like, you know, and it's hard. Um, like, so social life is a big, I mean, that's a big part of our, especially in the trucking, you know, that's a big part. Hey man, let's meet up and we'll have dinner or whatever, you know, and so, um, these are the things that I struggle with. And so, as a food addict, you know, like, well, yeah, if you eat 5 burgers a meal 4 times a day, that's a problem. you're not, you're still spiking your insulin, right? You can call it carnivore, and so people are like, well, I tried the carnivore diet, I ate 10 burgers a day, and that. I'm like, no, it's You're supposed to be eating once a day and spiking your insulin less, and you know, it's a whole thing, and I think that a lot of people just want to shut it down. They're exhausted. They don't want to even think about it, so they're going to make bad decisions. Which, you know, I did that last night. I think sometimes you just, yeah, Pigtail, a good friend of mine, boredom is tough and feel the need to snack. Right, that's a big part of it as well. So.
Yeah.
So these are the struggles. So I've never been. So when I walk into a room, it was like, oh, the nuts, you know, the carb police are here. You know, it's like, no, I'm not. I'm not perfect. You know, I'm not. I try to be less dogmatic about it. You know, I've been more focused on the fasting aspect, and but people assume, because I don't know if it's because I got resting bitch face or what, but you know, people assume that I'm like, oh, I can't believe he's having a piece of cake. How dare he? You know, I'm not. You know, sometimes I have a little bit of sadness when I see it's a problem for someone, but for the most part, I got to do what I need to do for myself. And if you want, you know, and when people ask me, hey, Steve, you know, what can I do? And I tell them, they're like, well, I can't do that. I'm like, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
get that a lot.
there
I
was
can't
a
do that.
lady in the event I was at today. There was another lady that has taken a lot of our advice, and she got her A1C down, and but yet today they were serving baked potatoes with some really good stuff on the potato, and but they also had like birthday cake there because it was somebody's birthday, and she, well, if I trade the potato for the cake, that's better, right, Steve? And I'm like, but I don't judge, right? I understand, you know, and so I've been yelled at for comparing sugar addiction to heroin and cocaine. I get yelled at for that. So for the most part, I've become kind of quiet about it because I'm just exhausted. I don't want to argue about it anymore. You know, sometimes you tell people something and it takes about a year or two to kick in, and which is fine. I'm glad that you know, that kind of happened with Pigtail. I've been telling for 2 years all this stuff, and he finally got on board, and he lost 60 pounds. I mean, and
Nice pigtail.
you know, and I'm just like, it's kind of like, some religions, man. You found this thing that helps you through life, and you want to just spread the word. You want to just tell everybody, and it's like, man, this could solve some of your problems. This could make some of your problems not go away, but maybe make it easier. And when people reject that, I had to get to a point where it no longer offended me if you rejected that, because I don't want to, because I'm not perfect, but at the same time, I don't know. It's a tough conundrum, and I've been meaning to do a video on the Snorler OG channel about the real struggles of being on a carnivore / keto diet, and it goes beyond just refusing to eat certain things, right? And so fasting, you know, I downloaded this book from Dr. Fung and this other I can't remember his name, and that book was a life changer because it allows you to have your moments like during holidays or whatever, where you can kind of go off a rail for a second, but the fasting kind of brings it all back, you know, and eventually I would like to get to the point, like a few friends of mine, where I'm fasting 2 or 3 days on a regular basis. And I've kind of slipped on that as well. So I'm struggling with some things. So I'm having to evaluate my life, like, okay, what stressors are causing these relapses? And
Yeah.
you know, and so when I put my pants on and I'm trying to tuck my pew in her waistband and it's tight, and I'm like, oh man, you know, that should be the reminder that, you know, this uncomfort is should be your motivation. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not, and that should kind of freak people out.
Yeah. So, but Pigtail says he got his A1C down from 5.4 from 9, and fasting was key for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I definitely don't. I'm not dogmatic. Like you got to do what works for you, and yeah, there's something to be said for the social aspect of it, and it's kind of funny that you were talking about you caved last night. I came this close to ordering a pie with my ribeye last night.
You
I
know,
was like, man, pie looks good, but I shouldn't.
and that's the thing. That's where the fasting can kind of help with that. But with the sugar stuff, I just remember about the cancer thing. But
Yeah,
Lily Kane just, I don't know if you follow her. She just put up a video
I do.
recently talking about micronutrients and why sometimes the carnivore keto approach doesn't work for some because they're not getting the nutrients that they need. And so I think what happens is that we either oversimplify or we overcomplicate. And I know that doesn't make sense, but I think what and I run into this when I'm talking about truck numbers with business, with owner operators. When you get into the complexities, people just shut it out. And they call it ADHD, but I think it's a natural human reaction to just shut all that out because they don't want their brain to be working overtime. And so it's just easier to like, well, I'm just gonna eat nothing but hamburgers. I'm just gonna eat nothing but ribeyes, or I'm just gonna eat nothing but, eggs. And that's great. It works for a minute, but then you get bored, you want variety, and then you're also missing a lot of micronutrients and a lot of minerals. And so what happens is that oh well, I ate eggs for 30 days straight, and then you relapse, and next thing you know, you're eating 2 whole pizzas by yourself because you haven't had that in a while. And and so that's the struggle. And Lily Kane came up with a very good video. I think I watched it this morning. So it's something that she put out recently, and and that chick's a firecracker. I mean, she is her shorts.
She's
I mean,
awesome.
she has like 80,000 clips in just a 1 minute short, and she's just such a great editor. And and she, but when she mellows out, she's serious. When she mellows out, and you're like, oh, she's being serious now because she's like not putting 20 clips of her being all wild. She's just like mellowing out. And it was a really great video, and it made a lot of sense to me because I think that having a one-dimensional diet can be effective, but also can be defective as well. And when it comes to the carnivore, you have a lot of people that will do not, okay, you're eating nothing but meat, but you're also doing a lot of bologna, a lot of hot dogs, a lot of roast beef with all these chemicals. Not realizing that the dextrose and the artificial seasonings and the sugar that they use to cure this stuff, is also affecting you. There's if you buy a rotisserie chicken at Walmart, you think, oh, I'm being carnivore, right? They're putting all these chemicals in that food, including dextrose,
Mhm,
which makes it
mhm.
addictive. And some people are like, oh, I can't even have a rotisserie chicken at Walmart. I mean, God. And so when they see the strictness of it, they're out. Or like I shouldn't have to look at every label. It's like and I get that it becomes exhausting, but in the grand scheme of things, I tell people, well, that rotisserie chicken is better than doesn't just because the rotisserie chicken isn't perfect doesn't mean that well, if I'm just going to screw up, I might as well have the macaroni and cheese and everything else, right? So,
Yeah,
um, and that becomes exhausting. So I just tell people, look, if you're tired of thinking about it, if it didn't come out of the ground or have a mom, don't eat it. Simple as
yeah,
that.
exactly.
And
Um,
and you'll have to figure out what your body likes. Your body may not react well to broccoli or lettuce, and so I tell people that carnivore diet's more of an elimination diet, but you got to kind of do it clean to really kind of figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And I know that a lot of processed meats have a lot of MSG and dextrose and maltodextrin in it. That that's the addictive that's what gives foods addictive qualities.
yeah,
So
yeah, and Sauna says, "Ha, Lily Kane has some good info, but she definitely is a ball of energy." Yeah,
She is.
but yeah, to your point, I'm kind of at that point in my I guess carnivore journey, you could say, because I'm like, I feel like I got my weight. I'm not where I want to be, but I've got it to where I'm under control. I'm a bit of a plateau right now, but I think if I start working out again, I'll get to where I want to go. But anyway, I'm starting
Definitely.
to explore a little bit with certain foods. Like I was mentioning, the cashews. And I'll eat some mushrooms every now and then. It's a good source of vitamin D, and they taste good. And they don't give me a reaction or anything. Uh, I've been kind of craving avocado lately, so I just haven't picked one up. haven't gotten around to it. So it's like,
Well, I
how
got
you
some tricks
said.
for that if you want to hear that. I've got some tricks for that.
Go ahead.
So, if you do you primarily shop at Walmart for your stuff?
Primarily, yeah, that's
Okay.
about what I'm stuck with.
So in the vegetable section at Walmart, they have guacamole that's made for Walmart. And if you read ingredients, there's nothing unnatural in it, other than I think some citric acid to keep it from browning, in the beginning. But it's pretty, and that's a great way. So what I used to do is I would dip that in boiled eggs, use that as kind of a dip. And there are some good nutrients with avocados. And I want to charge Mopar, say keep steak handy for hunger cravings. That's a great idea. A lot of times you can, like what I used to do in a pinch is I would buy those steak strips at Walmart. I mean, they got a lot of chemicals, but if you can like cook a bunch of meat at once at home, and then after it's cooked, freeze it, then or at least refrigerate it. That's kind of what I did on the road. Is I would cook like 10 burgers, and so if there was a craving, if I did get hungry, I can just, now I'm not having to have this whole production of cooking or whatever. And that's, to me, that's key, for variety too. Like I would spread the guacamole on the burgers, or I'll do salsa on top of the burgers and stuff like that. But your gut microbiome is going to be kind of messed up. It's going to be super sensitive to everything once you start introducing a few things, and so you want to go slow with it. I did notice that when I went on my 40-day carnivore thing, and looking back, I think I would have done better on the 40-day carnivore had I eaten less processed meats. That's kind of like in a pinch. Golden Corral works. If we go get Chinese buffet, I feel it. Like even if I eat nothing but meat, I feel, because the starches and the oils that they cook in. But if I go to Golden Corral, I don't know what oils they're cooking in, but if I eat nothing but steak and their mushrooms and their broccoli, man, I feel way better and don't need to eat for a day and a half versus the Chinese buffet. Next day, man, I'm starving in the morning. So that's that reaction. And my mouth's
Yeah,
watering now just thinking about Chinese buffet. I am a Chinese buffet addict. So
I used to. I used
that's
to be like that.
yeah. So but having, I think what I need is more stuff on hand for in the pinch, so I don't have weak moments. And so knowing your weaknesses and being honest with yourself is a big part of this journey. So
Yeah, I need to do that myself because there was like 2 days in a row where I didn't cook. I just got like jerky from the and the hot dog rollers. Just because I was like, I'm in a rush because I'm still gonna be late for my load. But oh well. Uh, yeah, I tried to get from Phoenix to Dallas in 2 days, but yeah, it's lost my train of thought. But yeah, it's just been adding
I'm
up
sorry.
some stuff. And let me show you something. I found some honey mustard, and check out the ingredients. It's water, mustard seeds, vinegar, honey, and salt. and there's only 1 gram of carb and 1 gram of sugar per serving, and there's 40 servings in this whole thing. So that's not that much, and I like it. I've been earlier this morning I dipped like a couple bites of my steak in it. So it's something that I've been experimenting with, and I've been enjoying it.
Horseradish mustard and ground mustard is great. If you put that on eggs, it makes it taste like deviled eggs. So,
dude, I still can't eat eggs, man. Earlier last month, huh? No,
I said
dude,
weirdo.
like, I'm serious. I had a bad reaction to it. I had 3 scrambled eggs for dinner, and later that night, I felt like throwing up. Go through all that day, all day the next day, queasy, and then the day after that, I actually did throw up in the morning, and I diarrhea. It was, dude, it was bad.
Did you get some bad eggs?
Some what eggs?
Bad
eggs?
Rotten eggs?
No, they were the organic ones, and I don't know if you notice whenever you go look for eggs, there's a lot of them that say fed vegan or vegetables only or whatever.
Yeah.
So I try to find the ones that don't say that.
Yeah.
Especially if they're like pasture raised.
Yeah, pasture raised is the best because they're free to move out in the sunlight and hunt for themselves, whereas the cage free is a scam because they're just in like a warehouse big cage.
Yeah, exactly. So whenever I do get eggs, I try to get those. So it wasn't the eggs, but it's just, I just can't. It's annoying because I love eggs.
Yeah, I love eggs too, and what I struggle with is I liked having boiled eggs on the road. So if I can have time to make them at home, I'd rather have those. But those kind that are already in the package, those taste rubbery. So that's where the mustard would come in.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I don't know. There's a whole thing with, again, we can get lost in minutia and all this. So at the end of the day, we got to figure out what works for you, and just because one form of keto didn't work for you doesn't mean that keto is a bad thing. And I think that's part of the stigma is that, oh, dude, I was keto for a month and I felt horrible and I didn't like it, and so it doesn't work, or I gained 5 pounds. Well, yeah, because you're literally drinking MCT oil by the jug. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah.
But lifting weights, that definitely helps. That I need to do that. I am weak in the arms. I think we talked about this last time we talked. I am weak in the arms. Somebody could easily beat me up or arm wrestle me, and I would lose because I am very weak in the arms. So I really need to kind of get on that. So I've got strong legs. I used to be an avid bike rider, but
okay, I can feel my hips getting weaker because all the sitting. So I need to do some walking or some hip mobility exercises or hip strengthening exercises, stuff like that. But before we get too much, how much longer do I have you?
As long as you want, man.
All right, cool.
I was on Sterling's channel talking about the music, and hell, that was like a 4.5 hour live feed. It was crazy.
Yeah, I was there for some of it.
Yeah, it was a good time. He discovered Apnea, my old band, and he's been listening to that. And then so I started sending him my other demo stuff that I've done. The Unicron that you were talking about earlier in this feed was actually a solo project I did with me and a drum machine. I played all the instruments except for the lead guitar. The solos were done by a friend of mine that used to be my guitar teacher. And he enjoyed it because he just got the shred without thinking about what he was doing, right? But I put it off as a full band I think I made up names for all the different instruments, and it was reviewed in Mental Maniacs magazine, and they called it Unicorn by accident. And I emailed the dude. He's like, "Man, I'm so sorry," but and then the Cyanide Rainbow was my first. Well, it wasn't my very first band, but it was my first real band. And so we were kind of, and it was my first time in a real studio. So we were kind of going over that. That was stuff that I did back in 91, or no, I'm sorry, 93, 94. So we were talking about that. And it just, he went over like almost every song. He went through his favorite songs. Okay, what's the story of this song? What happened with this song? What caused you to, and so I had all these different stories. It was pretty cool. It was fun. I was not paying attention to the number of people in there. So I don't know how many people actually viewed it or whatever, but it was a fun 4 hours. It was just like what we're doing now, just hanging out. I know that you and I have talked on the phone. We've talked for quite a while. We haven't done that lately, but so I was looking forward to this because we're just naturally. I think you and I are on the same wavelength with a lot of things. Except you're just a youngin.
Give me some time. I'll get there.
But you want
like you, another gray beard,
right? Yeah, this is experience right here. So, but let me show you what I got. So last night we went and saw Jungle Rot.
While you do that, I got something I want to grab too.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so last night we went and saw Jungle Rot, Phobophilic, Enforced, and Molder. These are all bands. And Necrotic Altar, they were a local band that opened, basically the kids of friends of mine, so it makes me feel old when I see them. But I always try to support the bands if I like their stuff, by buying merch from them. And now, especially since I've cleaned out my truck, I have way, 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 way too many t-shirts, right? So, and shirts have jumped up in the last 6 months with all these bands. What used to be $20 shirts are now $30 shirts. And so I can't justify spending $30 on a shirt that is literally going to be buried in a pile of black shirts. So I've been buying CDs, which I have a lot of CDs as well, but at least it's smaller. And so I bought Jungle Rot. I bought their self-titled, which is like 10 years old. Let's see, I bought this band's called Phobophilic. They were really cool. They were like this I'll have to do it this way. They were like brutal, like guttural death metal. They were really good. And then Enforced, these guys were a surprise. They're like old school thrash / hardcore.
Okay.
Like if Hatebreed was listening to Slayer kind of stuff, right? And then
right.
and then Molder, they kind of reminded me of, they're a new band, but they kind of, they got the gory album cover or whatever. I should turn the green screen off, but they reminded me, this might be a band that you've never heard of, but they reminded me of a band called Blood Feast, which was an old thrash metal band from back in the late 80s, early 90s. And so all these bands sounded like they were right out of like late 80s, early 90s kind of stuff. And I enjoyed it. And that was the whole theme of the night, was old school, right? And then I also got this. I got some vinyl.
Oh, nice.
Jungle Rot. Yeah, I got their What Horrors Await. Now, Jungle Rot, they have like a war theme, like Vietnam War theme, with their music and lyrics and imagery, and like their microphone stands had that green leafy camouflage that they used to cover up vehicles in the field.
Okay.
And they had the lead singer had that, plus bones, plus bullets on his microphone stand. I put that picture up on Facebook. So
yeah, I saw some of your pictures on Facebook.
Yeah, it was really cool. So yeah, so I'm and I go on Discogs and I catalog everything the minute I buy it, and so I'm really excited because I have music now, and to be honest with you, I've kind of gotten away from, like, it seemed like my urge to create music was subdued for quite a while. Now
Uh-huh.
it's back. I don't know what it is, but it's been returning here for the last year, and so hopefully when I sell the truck, I'm going to buy an effects pedal, and I think I'm going to start. Well, I mean, we kind of have a band, but I think we're going to get a little bit more serious about it. So that's kind of where I'm at musically. So
Well, that's
how about
cool.
how about you? Did you get any new
Kinda-
music this week?
uh, I've been getting into a band called Orbit Culture. Um, the lead singer, man, he sounds like the lead singer from Metallica, and they've kind of got similar sounds, but then they go hard and like real guttural with his vocals whenever he starts screaming.
Oh, okay.
Look up the song Red Fog. That's a good one. But I have Blood Feast pulled up on another tab for YouTube. um, and then sorry, Pigtail. My fog lifted, and I thought more clearly while doing keto. Uh, yeah, that's what
You
brain
definitely
fog
handle
does.
stress better.
Yes, for
That's the
sure.
thing. I watched this chick. She was this. She was this. I thought she was like this young black chick, but she was like older than me, but her skin and her complexion looked
Oh,
like
I
she
know what
was
you're
like
talking
10
about.
years. Yeah, she did a 2-year review of the carnivore diet, and she talked about she has a special needs son, and
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
wish
I
I
know who you're
remember
talking
her
about.
name. Yeah, and she
I
talked
don't remember.
about how all of the stresses in her life were still there, but she was just handling it better. Like, you become more even keeled, and that I think once that fog lifts, it's kind of almost a spiritual experience. You become more spiritual. You become less likely to go off the rails, less likely to, like, lose your shit, for lack of a better term, right? And
You can
and
cuss
and
on
I
here. I
think,
don't care.
yeah. So, anyways, and that's why musically, I'm not as angry as I used to be. Musically, I was like, raw, and now I'm just like, yeah, I'm chilling, man. So.
Yeah, but I like music like that. But I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
pulling up.
don't get me wrong. Yeah.
I'm just pulling up my YouTube music thing. Let's see, Red Fog, Orbit Culture, Fit for a King, Ginger, Arch Enemy, System of a Down, Vetti. I think we've talked about Vetti before.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, I've seen them. That was back when I was going to concerts. Bleed from Within, Gojira, Finch Sevenfold, of course, Pantera, Evanescence, Fit for an Autopsy, Avatar. Why is Poppy on here?
Well, I'll let you. So I'll tell you the band that I'm really into right now. It's a band that I just
Okay.
discovered. You may not like it, but it's a it's a band called Holy Name.
Holy Name.
Yep, it's one word. And they did they put out one album, and they also did a live stream concert. It wasn't like at a like a live venue. It was a warehouse. Yep, that's him. Um
Okay.
and they they're like, they've got elements of the new metal, like, breakdown stuff, but also elements of like Crowbar, really
Mm,
slow, but the singer does this melody that just, the two main songs I like from them is I know, and he brought in some guest vocalists, and Brian Welch from Korn is actually guesting guest playing on one of their songs. I've
If you
been
can remember which
really
song that
into
is, I
that.
would be interested in that one.
Oh yeah, so the one with Brian Welch is oh, let me find this here.
There it is. I found it. Fall on Your Knees.
Yeah, dude, and that is
That I'll watch later.
yeah, that's an 8-minute long song, and it's true emotion because the singer, his brother died, and was part of writing the lyrics for that song, I believe. And
Oh,
and so yeah, the singer has been through quite a bit. So if you watch the whole live streaming concert, it was a very emotional because the singer had dealt with him and his wife had 4 miscarriages, and like one of his parents, or another family member died, his brother died, all in this short space. And so you can really hear the emotion in the song. Man, it's been really good. I was listening to that on my way home from right before we got here, and I've been stuck on this. And they got and do you play guitar? Do you play any instruments?
I haven't played since I was a teenager.
Okay. These guys tune way down. Like I'm at low B on the apnea stuff. These guys are in dropped G. And so it was like gong 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 gong. It's like dang.
Nice.
And it took me like 30 minutes of pausing the video to try to figure out if the guy was playing an 8-string guitar, but he wasn't. And I found one of their playthrough videos, and that's something I've thought about doing. I should do some playthrough videos of some of the apnea stuff, and someone asked him, "What do you guys tune to?" And he's like, "Drop G," and I'm like, "Holy crap, that's low. That's like spaghetti strings, like
Yeah.
but it works, and the vocal effects that he has, like the reverb and the resonance is just awesome. So it's a great song. So
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out after we're done.
yeah,
But
play the one with Brian Welch, and then the other ones that are good is Creed and Celestial Beings, and he brought in the guy used to do heavy vocals. The lead singer, he was the lead singer of a band called Sleeping Giant.
I think I know that
But
one.
yeah,
Creed and I'm sorry, Creed and what was the other one?
Celestial. Those 3 songs, and
Okay.
he decided for this new band that he would bring in guest people to do the heavier vocals, and then he just does the clean singing, and it works out really well. He's got the vocalist from a kind of a metal deathcore band called Impending Doom. He's got him. He's got one of the lead singer of Demon Hunter on one of the songs. So it's been an awesome album. I've just been soaking in it. So, and that's kind of the direction I want to go in. It's like them and a band called Chemist, Khemmis. These are bands that, so like I've had this musical vision in my head of what I want to do. And then I hear a band like Chemist or a band like Holy Name, and I'm like, they're doing exactly what I want to do. It's like I had that idea, but that's kind of the direction, my death metal days. I love listening to death metal. I love the fast stuff, but I think in this stage of my life, I'm not as angry. So I'm more about, instead of rage, just, I don't know, soaking in the power, I guess, for lack of a better term. So
Yeah, I can, because I listen to a lot of different stuff. There's a band you might like. It's called why am I blanking? The Crane Wives. Wives. Little band out of Green Bay, I think.
oh, okay.
And female led, and they're kind of like kind of folky. They have a lot of weird stuff, like Sleeping Giants, that's a good one. And it's just very chill, kind of old school music. And yeah, I really like their. A lot of their songs have a lot of emotion through it, like "Pretty Little Things." Look that one up because that's the song that got me into them.
Oh, okay. Are you familiar with My Dying Bride?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Tell me, listen to the song called "The Dreadful Hours," and tell me that doesn't put you in tears, man. Read the lyrics too. That song will tear you up, and I won't say anything beyond that because I want you to be surprised. It's, dude. You and I can like.
That on my watch list.
I think that. I think because of the age gap, you're into some like we're like into the same music, but it's a different set of bands, and I
Yeah,
think that's interesting. Like,
but
I
I can appreciate the older bands. Like well, you saw in my record collection, I have Acid Bath.
Mhm.
I listen to Cannibal Corpse. I know of Venom. It's been a while since I've listened to them.
Right.
Uh, those are like the old school metal bands that come to my mind. Uh, fuck, there's another one. What's it called? Sepultura.
Oh yeah, Sepultura. Sepultura is kind of a weird band for me. I after Chaos AD, they kind of lost me, and then Max the Cavalera brothers put out. They re-recorded the first two Sepultura albums, and dude,
Hmm.
those are fire. They said they did such a good
That's
job with that,
that's when I
and
got into them.
yeah, and so this new Sepultura is it's not. I don't even think I think there's one original member left, and they definitely have a different sound, a different feel. But the band that we saw last night, Jungle Rot, they were the headliners, and they get up on stage and they're just complete pros, man. Their sound was perfect, their songs are perfect, and they've been around since '91. A lot of these
Mm.
old school death metal bands have been together for 30 plus years, and a lot of bands are reforming, like Forbidden just reformed. um
Yeah, I was about to say, like, some of these older bands are, a lot of them are making comebacks.
yeah, and that's the thing, like Violence just recently did that. Um I watched a concert that they did. I want to say it was Bloodstock. It was the one in England, and they did a set and it was perfect. It was just like, wow, this is these guys are like older than me doing this old school thrash I was listening to in high school, and um Forbidden's back at it with a different singer, so I'll be curious to see what they do. Dark Angel is supposed to be making another album. Power Mad had made a couple albums trying to resurface, and I think the internet is part of that. The internet culture and the retro, like now you're seeing these bands where these guys are no older than 21, 22 years old, yet they sound like they like like a death metal band in 1991. It's crazy. Um, Sweden is very well known. They have retro bands like in all, like they have, like there's this country band, country western honky tonk band from Sweden. And you could have sworn they were from 1978 in Dallas, Texas. It's kind of crazy, and they've been doing that with the metal stuff, and the Japanese are good about that too. The Japanese are like, okay, we're gonna
Oh
do a
yeah,
retro punk band, and if you close your eyes, you listen to it, you could have sworn it was made in 1978. Right next to the punk bands that were around back then, and I love it. And the internet has brought that, like take the Star Wars for example. If the whole Star Wars craze that Disney is a part of, their target audience is these guys that grew up. I was 5 years old when I first saw the first Star Wars. And they the whole toy and comic book movement is based off of, you know, the retro, you know, like bunch of 40 to 60-year-old guys trying to relive their youth, you know, and music is doing the same thing. You got a lot of people like doing these reunion tours. You know, Genesis is touring, and the lead singer is literally, Phil Collins is literally in a wheelchair. He barely can't
Oh
even
my
stand
God.
up. You
That
know,
makes me sad.
yeah, and like Ozzy Osbourne, you know, that like when he played before the Super Bowl last year, he literally had this rod that he was leaning on that was like around his belt, and his jacket hit it because he couldn't even stand for the whole performance. And it's like, dude, retire already, man. You've had a good life,
Right?
man. You've had a good run. You know, give the young kids a bit of a chance. So
Yeah, I'm surprised Ozzy's still going, but yeah, there's a lot of the nostalgia bait going on in pop culture right now with, you know, when it comes to what you were just talking about. But to your point,
nostalgia bait,
uh,
that's a good term.
yeah,
Did you coin
there's
that
a lot of
term?
it. No.
Oh, okay. Nostalgia bait. That's I haven't heard that. That's funny. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, think about what Disney Star Wars is doing, like with the Mandalorian. You know, they brought up Luke in the last episode of season 2, and just to kind of cover up for their shitty writing, be like, hey, look at this nostalgia
Right.
bait. So there's been in my opinion, a rising of that sort of thing, bringing in the old stuff that was good to cover up the crappy pop culture stuff that's been surfacing lately. But
Well,
that's
yeah,
just fun.
especially with Star Wars, right? So it's like, okay, everybody loves Boba Fett, and so let's do the Mandalorian.
And then
Everybody
that,
loves. We can market the hell out of a baby version of Yoda, you know, and it works, you know, and
yeah,
now I haven't seen. I don't have. I refuse to buy another streaming service, so I have not seen any of the episodes of Mandalorian or any of the one-off, you know, streaming shows that Disney has done based off of Star Wars.
mhm,
Um, but I'm not a purist either. I actually enjoy some of the newer Star Wars films, and I think that's part of the internet culture is you get these purists that like hate this and hate that, and that's not the real thing, you know. And it's like you got to take it for what it is, right? But
yeah. Well, I would say if Disney Star Wars was more respectful to the sources and Disney Star Wars has become content and not stories,
right.
in my opinion.
Well, it's a special effects fest too, you know. So it's tough to find one of these retro things that are actually from the heart, not as a big money grab. You know, music is the same way. You know,
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
you know, you have bands that these guys couldn't even stay in a room together for more than 5 minutes trying to put out an album, and you know it's just a money grab. You know, these people still can't even tour together. They can't even be in a room together. They did all their tracks, you know, remotely, you know, but it's a big money grab, and or it's a situation like a lot of these old rock bands where you don't even have any original members left. You know, whoever ended with the rights of the music, you know, like Queensryche's kind of in that realm, you know, bands like Foghat and you know 38 Special and that era of rock bands are especially riddled with, like, one time I was at the fair and the Temptations played. I'm like, there's no original members left. You're literally, like, Kiss is the same way. You're literally watching a cover band, you know, that happens to have the rights to the real name, you know. So it's kind of, and that stuff doesn't appeal to me at all, you know. And you know, I mean, look at
Well,
Metallica when they play live. What do they play? They play all the stuff that of their first 5 albums, you know.
yeah. Metallica came out with a new album recently, right?
Yeah, it's called 72 Seasons, and And it's all right. You know, I'm not a Metallica purist. You know, there's only one of their albums that I can't listen to at all, and it's actually one that most people don't expect. It's Reload. I don't. I think there's like maybe 2 songs on Reload that I like.
I don't think I've even listened to that one.
Yeah, 90s were, dude.
Oh.
Let me tell you something about the 90s. Hold on. Had to let the dog out. So you had Metallica came out with the
Speaking of the
Black
90s,
Album,
letting the dogs out.
right? Metallica came out with the Black Album in 91. And what Bob Rock managed to do is he was able to take their sound from Injustice for All and make it into a hit radio song or, you know, style. And it worked wonders. And so when they came out with Load and Reload, they cut their hair. They went, like, they were told the industry does not like metal bands anymore. And at that time, Nirvana and Alice in Chains and, you know, all the grunge bands, Pearl Jam and all that were taken over. It killed off a lot of the hair metal bands. And even Rob Halford, like, was like, oh, metal's a dying thing. So he did that little industrial project called 2 or something like that. And what happened is, you know, for us local bands, it was tough to get a gig anywhere because the clubs didn't want you. There was this narrative that metal was dead. Even Metallica's cut their hair and not playing metal, blah, blah. You know, and when you listen to Load and Reload, they're kind of like an AC/DC kind of level. And I don't think the negative reaction wouldn't have been as bad had they not changed their production and cut their hair. But they were trying to fit in, and that's what people were rejecting. But the 90s was a weird era. So enter the rise of Pantera, and you know, and they kind of carried the flag for the metal bands. And the 2000s came about, and you know, a lot of people went from thrash to death metal because, you know, the death metal bands were still pushing the envelope where everybody else was selling out. And all the thrash bands like Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, Megadeth, they all came out with their version of the Black Album. They all had, like, Slayer, Diabolus and Musica as kind of a new metalish sound, and Megadeth came out with they came out with their version of the Black Album. Anthrax had The Sound of White Noise, which had a different singer, and there's some heavy songs on there, but like the song Only, that's a radio hit, you know. And some of these more underground bands like Exodus and Death Angel, they all tried their hand at it, and it backfired, you know. And so the music industry, you thrash bands suck, you know. They were hoping for the next Metallica, and they weren't getting it. And so it really kind of killed the metal scene for a minute. And so Load and Reload is kind of the imagery, the video, the songwriting. It's all, but a couple of their songs on those albums are like some of my favorite Metallica albums. So, but most Metallica purists is like, they did nothing great after Injustice for All, you know. And but Death Magnetic was Rick Rubin producing, who produced Slayer, and he kind of brought them back to the roots, and that's a great back to the roots kind of album. And so my opinion is anything that Bob Rock touches is I despise, because his job is to make a metal band or a rock band turn into a friendly, radio friendly, famous rock band. And that takes some tweaking to do. And I mean, essentially that's what they did with Nirvana. If you listen to Nirvana's first album, Bleach, it's a different album than Nevermind. Nevermind was polished, in tune, radio friendly, catchy, you know, and I think that was part of the reason why Kurt Cobain, you know, took his life,
Yeah.
because he didn't want that kind of fame based off of something that wasn't real to him. So
Yeah. No, to your overall point, I think genuine people and genuine music is where it's at. It's the next currency, I think, in all this woke stuff that's coming in. If you don't mind me talking on that, but
you talk about whatever
yeah,
you
no,
want,
it's,
man.
Yeah, well, it is my channel.
Do whatever
but,
you want. It's my channel. I
no.
do what I want.
Exactly. But yeah, I know it's these genuine people who enjoy what they do, and they give the middle finger to, you know, these producers that want to sanitize and make everything radio friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where music thrives and true creativity thrives. And yeah, exactly to your point, it's these genuine lovers of what they do that will reign supreme and be remembered.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean that's why I didn't like get into the hair metal band stuff. I really didn't, other than a select few bands that were kind of heavier edged.
Yeah,
You know, a lot of it
there's
was
like a few hair metal bands, like Tesla. Didn't Pantera start out?
Yeah,
Hair
Pantera
metal?
started out as a hair metal band, and you know they were trying to fit in. And what a lot of people don't realize is in the New Orleans scene, there's a thrash metal band called X Hoarder, and they were more of a
Called what?
X Hoarder.
You're breaking up a little bit.
X
Hoarder. Okay.
EXHORDER. And their first album is essentially death metal, but they kind of convinced Pantera to go in the heavier direction, and that's what created Cowboys from Hell. Exhort actually influenced that because they're all the same bands in the scene. Like, dude, you got to quit with this trend stuff. Just be real and raw and go in this direction. And lo and behold, and they came out at the time that a lot of people were giving up on thrash bands, you know, because they're all trying to be in the next Metallica Black album. Pantera's like, screw that. We'll just come up with some good grooves and give the people what they need. So
yeah, that's the way to do it.
And what's interesting is a lot of people are like, do you like Pantera? I'm like, yeah, they're all right. What? Yeah, man, I've got like 2 of their albums. They're not like my first go to. I think the only CD I used to have Vulgar Display of Power. I don't know if I think my wife might have that one, but my favorite album of theirs is Far Beyond Driven. And after that,
that's the one that I have on vinyl.
Yeah, and the thing with them is like they got heavier as time went on, but when we were playing out in the like from 2000 to hold on. When we played out from early 2000s to, well, no, I want to say earlier than that, like 95 to 2010, the bands I was in, we played with so many Pantera clones to the point that the lead singers would look and act and sound like Phil, and I just got so tired. All these bands sound, you know, and what's funny is like, okay, so all these Pantera clones sound the same, but yet you listen to a lot of death metal that sounds the same to me. I said, yeah, but it's different. You know, they're not. I don't know. It's just, I don't know why it's different. You know, I could be full of it, but I I got burned out on Pantera, not because of Pantera, but because of all the Pantera clones that we were playing with locally. And I was just like, okay, we get it. Pantera is a great band. You know, and I guess it was kind of like that in the late 80s with Metallica. You know, there's a lot of bands that started playing Metallica covers, and next thing you know, they do a couple originals and they sound exactly like Metallica. So
well, Addicted to Antlers got here late. Well, you missed our you missed our discussion about keto and diet. Now we're just not talking about music. So I know she's one of mine. So she's not usual. She's usually, used to listening to me talk about diet, so we're. But anyway, yeah, yeah, music rules.
Yeah, I always, that's why I have the smaller channel, because the smaller channel, it can go in any direction, whereas, but we always end up talking about trucking for some reason. And my main trucking channel, of course, every now and then we'll do the health stuff, but for the most part, it's all about trucking. And we'll actually do a video like, okay, we're not like, I'll do videos with DIY Semi. We'll do book reviews and like, all right, we're not allowed to talk about trucking, and somebody will come in the chat, hey, what do you think about the cost of this trailer? I'm like, no, we're not talking about that today. So I imagine you probably have the same thing with your crowd. If they're all here for the carnivore aspect, we're sitting here talking about death metal bands and Pantera.
Yep.
Then
Yep.
it's probably kind of frustrating.
Yeah, probably. It's the crowd that I've gathered, and
That's
I'm cool
fine.
with it.
That's
But
fine.
well,
That's why I have the long name. That's why the big channel's got the long name. I mean, Metalhead, Viking, Caveman, Trucker. The Metalhead, it's obvious. The Viking, I'm into the whole Viking culture, and then the Caveman's because people, you look like a caveman with that beard. I'm like, okay, that's a good idea. And I used to drive in and out of the caves in Springfield Underground all the time, so why not?
Oh,
I
yeah,
might have
yeah.
to remove the trucker aspect as soon as I sell my truck, but
Well, you
we'll
could
deal
put
with
a
it.
dispatcher in place of it.
Oh, no. People hate dispatchers, so I don't want that kind of hate. So,
Uh,
like, do
but
you
yeah,
love your dispatcher?
he's all right.
Well, I do more than
There-
look. Basically, I help people run their businesses. I'm more of a load finder versus your standard, company issued dispatcher. Company issued dispatcher, fleet manager is like, all right, here's your load, get to it. Where I'm like, all right, I think I can get this load for X amount of dollars, or okay, we're going to get this load, but then I'm looking for a load out of this area for you. And then I've been trying to set up direct freight where I can get freight out of like Denver or someplace like that for money. And of course, I get a piece of that. So it's more of a business partnership than quote unquote dispatcher. So
yeah, but kind of circle back. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing. Oh, sorry, the chat. Don't know who that is. Do you know who that is?
no.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm gonna have to look that up too. Tijuana Brass. Okay,
I'm gonna guess it's some older stuff.
probably. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna be doing some weird stuff on my channel. Here in November, I got two. I think I told you, I got like almost 3 weeks vacation time, and I'm gonna take one weekend and go to the Texas Renaissance Festival.
Oh, cool.
And I have camping passes, so I'm gonna be there for like all weekend, and it's gonna be during the Highland Fling. So I'm gonna have my all my kilts on and stuff like that, and
oh, nice.
I want to do a video on if I could eat carnivore at the Texas Renaissance Fair. I think that'd be fun. But before that, I'm gonna do a video on if any of my kilts still fit me.
I've never worn a kilt, so my wife wants to see me in a kilt, and but we have not gone there. So,
But yeah, my biggest kilt I have is 44 inches, which goes above your belly or belly button. That's what you're supposed to wear them. And dude, I know that thing's not going to fit me anymore. So it'd be interesting to see which ones still fit.
it goes above the belly button.
Yeah, that's the way you're supposed to wear it.
Okay. Well, I kind of wear. So in the tactical world, if you're playing with the pew-pews, it's best to have the pants riding up on above the belly button, the belt. So you can kind of clip things to it that way, and so I wear. I think you'd be able to fit in a 44 unless the sizing's different um, in a kilt. So it'll be interesting. Where do you buy a kilt? Let's say I want to go full Scottish and I want to buy a kilt. Where do I purchase one?
USAKilts.com. There's a couple other like smaller type of websites, but USA Kilts is the most reputable, and they have a direct line to all of the weavers in Scotland that they order from. So they'll order like actual Scottish tartan, and they're based in Philadelphia or not Pennsylvania somewhere. And so they'll bring in the tartan from Scotland, and then they'll sew it up and do all your. They'll make the kilts there, and they do a lot more than kilts. They do like Charlie jackets, kilt jackets, stuff for weddings. They make their sporrans, which if you don't know, because there's no pockets in kilts, so the sporran is that bag that goes over your crotch area.
Mm-hmm.
So they do custom stuff like that, and I've ordered from them a couple times, but I've also ordered cheap kilts from like Amazon. AffordableKilts.com. They're based in Scotland too, and they're pretty good. I've gotten like 2 or 3 of their kilts.
Oh, okay.
But I hear tell of I think it's in Wisconsin. There's an actual physical kilt store in Wisconsin somewhere. I can't remember what it was called or any of that. But if you look it up, it might be around there. But it's funny, we've moved on from music, and we got people in the chat talking about about their music now.
Yeah, my wife and I, we grew up kind of similar with our parents, and so we have a lot of the old school, like old country western stuff. We have like I think we've got C.W. McCall, we've got some Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, we got stuff like that. So a lot of that stuff you can buy cheap at the thrift stores, if you want to sort through all of it. So
All right, later antlers. But yeah,
so are you of Scottish descent? Or, I mean, what makes you embrace this culture?
Yeah, I can pull it up because I've done the. Oh, excuse me. I've done the DNA test. I'm like 40% Scottish.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but I was into kilts even before then.
Oh, okay.
But I do have a family tartan too.
That's cool. I know I'm from the English Isles. I've never done the DNA thing, but I'm assuming as much because I know that my family came from there, and I believe I might have had. There was a guy that served in World War I with my last name. I know that my grandfather served in World War II, but we were already over here by then. But I think my grandmother said that we came over from the English Isles, and like we might have even had a couple of people that worked on the Statue of Liberty in our family, when they shipped it over here and built it up. Hey Sterling, I'm sorry I missed your live feed. I missed your blessing, but we had scheduled this like literally a month ago. I hated to step on you. So, but
oh, sorry about that.
But like, I'll tell you what, it was weird. So I was sitting there at the Flying J in, where was this? It was on US 69 in Oklahoma, Chakota maybe. And I hear something. I'm like, what is that? And there was a guy in a kilt. He was a truck driver, and he was literally practicing bagpipes in the parking lot of the Flying J. in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. I thought that was like, well, this is a weird thing. And I love I love Scottish and Celtic music. I love I'm a big fan of like Viking music as well.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of similarities. And then there's actually elements of the old Celtic music that's in bluegrass. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yep.
So there's a
Yep.
lot of like the violin and the melodies and stuff like that. And I really, really appreciate that musically. And so I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's cool that one of these days I might do one of those DNA tests to see what I really am. But I'm pretty much sure that I'm probably from the English Isles. Whether it's I don't think I'm Irish, but definitely either Scottish or English. That kind of thing. So
I'm like 15% Irish, but yeah, the the word kilt is actually Old Norse, which means knot.
means what? You broke up.
The word kilt is Old English for knot, as in tying a knot.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But yeah, and the great kilt, which is like 5 yards of cloth, in Scotch Gaelic is Phillimore, which means long blanket.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of interconnection between the Viking and Old Norse and Celtic influences, for sure, especially in their art, because I don't have any of the books with me, but I have a book full of like Celtic and Viking art, and there's a ton of similarities. Like hell, even my tattoo, the triangles,
Mm-hmm.
that's based off of an old Pictish, which is a lowland Scotland tribe. It's based off an old pattern from one of their archaeological sites, and then that's Anglo-Saxon, and hell, even the runes are the Anglo-Saxon rune set, and it's in Old English.
Oh, wow.
So
That's cool.
I have a lot of uh, what's the word? Respect for the old culture.
Yeah, I think it brings us back to a time that,
Reverence. That was the word. Sorry.
yeah, it brings us back to a time. What's interesting is that if you read the history of World War One, right before World War One occurred, a lot of countries were reverting back to tribalism because they felt that they were losing their roots. They were losing who they were. And and that's how there was a time where that's how a society kind of gets overtaken. Like
Yeah.
and I'm not anti anything, just letting you know that the Muslims have come into Europe and they've taken over the culture, they've taken over different elements in different areas, and that's kind of like it's kind of like that line in Braveheart where the king's like, if we can't force them out, we'll breed them out. And so right before World War One, there was a lot of that going on, and so a lot of these countries started embracing their own heritage and not letting outsiders in, and that was one of the contributors to the instability that created World War One. Because the people wanted to be proud of themselves, and the tribalism and like you can't intermingle, you can't mix. The melting pot is a failed thing, and so you have a lot of that going on today. And I think that a lot of this Viking culture that's so popular now because TV shows like Vikings or whatever, I think a lot of that is everybody's trying to find roots. You embrace the Scottish aspect of
Yeah.
your roots, and a lot of people want to embrace. You have people from from African countries that are here that will dress their traditional way, or you have people from India that will do that. you'll have people from all sorts of different countries that are starting to embrace that and not, they want to show pride to who they originally are. And I think that the internet is feeling that a little bit, but you saw a lot of that in World War One. And so it was easy to get people to kind of against each other because obviously there were defining lines. And well, you don't want any outside interference from keeping you from your roots. So that's a manipulation tool. But no, I probably, I know that I'm naturally drawn to that kind of music, and so I kind of wonder if that's kind of a genetic memory.
Calling to, to your roots.
Right. It's a genetic memory does exist, right? And so, like, people need to find themselves. There was that one millionaire TikToker dude that went through this major plastic surgery to make him look like he was Korean.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, obviously it's a white English dude. There's no way that you were ever Korean in a past life, or it was like that's a sense of belonging that he wanted. And obviously, you've been told, that you're the a-hole of the world, by being who we are. And so he wanted to there's nothing wrong with embracing a different culture, but to look and act like them, that's a little bit different. But I think that the Viking culture is kind of trendy also, which is kind of, but, it says the guy with Viking in his name. So, there's that.
Yeah. Well, I do have Viking tattoos. So, but yeah, there's a guy on Instagram, Northern Black. He's kind of a legend in like the Viking community, tattoo artist. He makes almost weekly a video of just a short, just him saying, "You're not a fucking Viking."
Right.
And it always in the chats you see everybody fighting, and it stirs up shit. And he does this like every week, and it's great. But it's needed. It's needed in that community for someone to come out and just say it like that, But real quick, Charger Mopar. That's an interesting way to look at a cause for World War One. I am sure the Central Bakers started the war to destroy tribalism, which is one of the biggest enemies.
There's some truth to that, in my opinion. Okay, this again, I'm not a historian. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a historian. But what I will say is that when you have lines that are defined, it's easier to turn people against each other. So the effort to destroy tribalism was an effort to, if you push tribalism, you can use it to destroy it as well. And so I mean, look, I think Charger Mopar and I would get along. I think there's a lot of similar things that we talk about or think about. I may not talk about them online, but there's a really, really, really good World War One museum in Kansas City. It is huge. It is just, you can't get through it in a day, and it really kind of gives you a perspective, and you see the path that we're heading now. It's very, 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 very similar. And there are reasons that I won't go into it because it might make me look like I'm nuts. And I'm not about to have that kind of attention. So
communism.
No, it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that. And I think that Charger Mopar is on the right track. I know where he's getting at, because I have this friend, he's from Australia, actually New Zealand. And he came over here in the States, and he's given me a lot of practical advice. He's a self-made millionaire twice over. He lost it all and then regained it, but he's driving a truck. He's happy driving a truck. And he was warning me about things that are happening now. He was warning me about this stuff like 8 years ago. And there's some advice that he's given that's kind of helped us quite a bit, because he sees things from a worldlier view. and he does believe in some things that are kind of nuts, but he also is a smart dude about economy and manipulation, and the more you can dive into that, like I want to read the book The 48 Laws of Power.
Mm.
and I heard it's a hard read, but it's like there's some really good stuff and there's some really negative stuff in there about like how to manipulate humans and mass populations, and there is such a thing as population control. And I think that tying into the food thing, I think that's a big part of the tools of trying to manipulate the masses. And I'm seeing a lot of things that were being done at World War One. Like when you're watching these videos and reading this history, you're like, wow, this is literally a carbon copy of what we're dealing with now, except we have the internet to kind of put it on steroids. And next thing you know, we'll see what future, it goes far beyond than what we understand. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely an agenda. I was watching Carnivore Kent with a K. Oh, excuse me. He came out with a recent video. Let me look it up for you real quick. I'll put it in the chat, or maybe the private chat. But anyway, he did a pretty good video on like why the vegan movement is getting pushed. You would really enjoy it. Give me a second. I'm pulling it up real quick.
Oh, I already know. I mean, I haven't heard this dude, but I'm pretty right on track with that. I think I know what he's gonna say.
Yeah, it's he's a solid dude. I'm gonna put it in the private chat and the regular chat. But anyway, yeah.
There you go, Charger Mopar. You got it.
Yeah, even I've said it. I've said it to him on stream.
Yeah, copy that link.
Yep.
Let's see, paste. I'll put this in my history so I can view it tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a good watch. It's a really good watch. Oh, well, we've been going for almost 2 hours, and I need to pee. So that's
yeah. My wife's cooking dinner, and so I just want to. Yeah, so I've started this video here. So, well, thanks for having me on, man. I hope I didn't bore your crowd and all that. So,
well, Antlers and Charger Mopar stuck around, so at least we got someone. Thanks, Rick. But yeah, look up his channel too.
Yeah, I will definitely will. But yeah, no, this has been fun, man. We ought to do this more often than every 3 months. And don't lose this video, by the way. Come on now.
I'll try not to. I won't delete anything.
No,
but yeah,
well,
it's been fun. Like I said, it's just hanging out with friends.
Yeah, man. I kind of wish I was still driving and we'd hang out somewhere. But you run primarily west, don't you?
Yeah, I'm kind of considering taking a road trip on my vacation time.
Okay,
I might go south to see Kip and some of my other carnivore YouTuber friends, but I could make a trip up if I do it. I don't know if I can, if I'll have money. I don't know, but I'm thinking about it.
That's cool. Well, if you ever on that run, dude, I'm just a rock's throw from I-44 in Springfield here, so
yeah,
come hang out. Well, I'll take you to the Brazilian steak place, dude. That place is a carnivore's dream. Have you ever been to a Brazilian steakhouse?
No, I've been to, of course, all the steakhouses in Texas.
Okay, no. So Brazilian is different. Here's how it's different. They bring the meat to you. Right? So you sit down at your table. This is like the carnivore dream. Pigtail, if he's still in here, I took him to one of these. We have one in Springfield. It's called Ray Rico. So what it is they have all this meat. They got pork, steak, chicken that they put on that they cook on a rotisserie, and they have the skewers, right? And they show up at your table and they cut you a slice of whatever meat, and they go around, and so it's a buffet. Now they come around with some sides and stuff too, but if you want to eat nothing but meat and get your fill, this is awesome. They literally they give you these tongs, and then as they're cutting it off, you're supposed to peel it off. You put it on your plate. They have all kinds of beef and pork and chicken and lamb and dude, it's awesome. It's like the best thing for a carnivore, even keto diet. Now they have a salad bar, which but even the salad bar they'll have like shrimp and stuff like that. But dude, it's the buffet that comes to you that's nothing but meat. I mean, come on now. And if you haven't
Dude,
experienced
that sounds
that, then you need to come to Springfield, and we'll do that.
All right. I'll see what I can do.
And I'll show you the music collection, and we'll hang out, man. It'll be a good time. So
Sounds good. What?
I'll show you my Viking decorated pew pew. I think you'll like that. So.
Oh yeah, you showed me a picture of it, but yeah.
Well,
all right, man.
Well, thanks for having me on, dude. This has been fun.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do it again, for sure.
Cool, man. Well, I'm out. You have a good day and be safe. All right.
You too, man.
Bye.
Later.